The message from dreams, visions, and hypnosis in the Bible. We're actually on the in the book of Judges, on lesson number 25, and we're in chapter number 4. And we talked about in the last class about the Ashtaroth, and Israel kept going back and worshiping the Ashtaroth. We're going to go a little bit further here in the book of Judges, but I want to go back and talk about the Ashtaroth and the Baals. The Ashtaroth is actually a plural word. Ashtoreth is singular. And I've got a bunch of notes I wrote down here. Both the Ashereth and Ashtaroth, Ashtoreth is singular, Ashtaroth is plural, and Ashtoreth also, these are all references to a goddess. And in the Old Testament, the Arabs at that time, which were cousins to the Jews, they worshipped pagan gods. Now, according to some of the historical books, there later on what became the Kaaba, they had 365 gods, plus Mary and Jesus. Now, if you go back and you study Ashtoreth, this goddess was actually like the Virgin Mary as the Catholic Church looks at her, not as the Bible looks at her, but it was a halo around her head and all this. This is Ashtoreth. And also in the Islamic world, you see the symbol is the moon and a star. Well, to the Islamic world, basically, and I know some of you listen to me, but it is paganism. It's a very, what we might call brute religious system that has so much superstition in it. So much superstition. Because that's the way they were back 1,500 years ago. And even before the time of Muhammad, which is 570 AD. They worshipped a rock. A rock fell out of the sky. And the Greeks worshipped Astarte. And this rock that fell out of the sky, and it had supernatural powers in the rock, and supposedly, according to Ibn Ishaq in the life of Muhammad, that this rock fell out of heaven, and they found it. These Bedouins found it, and they took it and they built a Kaaba around it. And later on, the Islamic people called it the right hand of Allah. And that it was really a white stone at one time, but then later on, because of all the men's sins, they go lay their hands on it, and all their sins go in. Their sins are forgiven by this rock. And the rock turned black from all the sin. But basically, all of this is heathenism in all reality. It's heathenism. Now, the Jews, this was before Muhammad even. This is all goes way back in time. And that's what we're talking about in the book of Judges when you go into the Baals. Now, Baal, the plural for Baal is Baalim. 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 And the plural for Ashtoreth or Astarte is Ashtaroth. It refers to a goddess of the ancient world, I wrote down here. Ashtaroth is the plural for Ashtoreth. This doesn't mean that Ashtaroth necessarily refers to figurines or idols. It doesn't, but it may refer to a pantheon of goddesses, a pantheon of many gods, many goddesses. She was looked upon as a goddess of fertility and love and war. She also was thought of as the moon goddess, Islam, the star, the rock, possibly the goddess of, or Venus. Venus, you know, it's that moon that shines so bright. I don't know what part of the world you're in, but here you can see Venus out there and it's very bright. These attributes and ideas of the pantheon of gods that they had was very prominent in the different cultures at that period of time. It had a lot to do with sexuality. Now in the book of Genesis we have Judah going. Now he had some sons, remember, and they married to Tamar, and they God killed one and he killed another one. And he didn't give her to his third son, which he should have done. Now, he is going to go with his sons when they're shearing sheep. So he goes and he goes down the road, and this is way a long time ago now. This is back in Jacob's time, and well, Judah's time anyway. And their temple prostitutes, the Ashtoreth, the Astarte, these virgin temple prostitutes, would go and sit by the road. And they would either have sex with their customers there, but always when you're having sex with this woman, you are worshiping Baals, or Baalim, or you're doing this religious thing. Well, Judah comes by and tells her that he wants to have sex with her. And he does, but she makes him promise her. And he gave her his belt, his staff, and his signet ring. And when he sent his servant to pay for the services she gave to him, they couldn't find her. They said, there's no temple prostitute here. But he was going to have sex with a temple prostitute, so he's loaning himself to idolatry and doing what he did. Well, then Tamar turns up pregnant, and he's going to burn her alive. You know, the Jews, they had several different forms. They had burning, you burned them alive, you stoned them, you beheaded them, and you strangled them. Well, he was going to burn her. And he said, who committed this terrible idolatrous thing with you? And she said, the man whose staff this is, and this belt is, and the signet ring. And he said, you're more righteous than I am, which she was. And she had twins, 2 boys, and they were Jacob's sons, and through them comes the Messiah. But as what he was doing was he was going to have sex with this religious prostitute. These goddesses of different cultures actually had different names and different characteristics, and the Bible gives them all under the name of Ashtoreth or Ashtaroth. The designation of the Virgin Mother, or the Holy Virgin, was originally applied to this goddess. You have to realize the Virgin Mary. Now, if you look up here, on this history chart, Mariolatry began right here around 400 to 500 AD. But that form of Mariolatry, and that's the Catholic Church now, they began to worship Mary. And it was an evolution of worshiping Mary. It became more and more nuts as it went along. She was a virgin, a perpetual virgin. She never got married. This is not Joseph. She didn't have any more children, which is not true. The Bible contradicts all of that. And then that finally that she didn't die. She was taken up to heaven, which didn't happen either. But all of these things, she was a perpetual virgin. All of this was an evolution. And I could read that to you also. But all of it came from the Ashtoreth and Baal worship. Balaam is plural for Baal. Baal is a well-known god of the ancient world. The heathen worship, which the Israelites adopted off and on, involved horrible degenerate practices. Sexual union with temple prostitutes which Judah did. Deuteronomy 23:17, 1 Kings 14:24, 15:12, and 2 Kings 23:7, and Isaiah 57:3 through 5. The murder of children and their rights to these various gods, Leviticus 18:21, Psalm 106:37 through 38, and Isaiah 57 verse 5. This is all the things that Israel kept going to. God told Moses, and he told Joshua later, that when you go into the land, do not marry into these people. They will take you away from the one God of heaven to these pagan gods. Apart from their worship, the heathen practice homosexuality, which God hates, and bestiality, having sex with the animals, and that's why God told Israel to go into certain areas in the land of Canaan. By the way, the land of Palestine, or whatever you want to call it, is the land of Canaan in the Bible. Canaan is what it means. And Canaan went into that land and established the land, and then God said, I'm going to take it away from them when their sin rises up to my nostrils, and it did. And they told them to even kill the animals in some cases, because the animals come completely diseased because of this bestiality that they practice. Leviticus 18:22 through 30. Asherah also is another word from like Ashereth and Asherah. Sometimes these words refer to little idols which they worshipped in their homes. Remember that Laban had idols in his home. Remember, Rachel took that, his family idols, his family teraphim, and took them with her. All of this is what Israel had been practicing, and even as God tried to draw them out of there, they sent them down to Egypt, and after they got into Egypt, and then after they were hauled off into Babylon, and kept Assyrian and Babylonian captivity, Israel didn't want any more idols. But it took all that. This homosexuality, of course, God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, all 5 of those cities, because of that. In the different translations of the Bible, it talks about the Asherah and the Baals and the Balaam. Now let's go here a little bit further. In chapter number 6, then the sons of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. The Lord gave them unto the hands of Midian for years, for 7 years, and the power of Midian prevailed against Israel, because Midian, the sons of Israel, made for themselves the dens which were in the mountains, and the caves, and the strongholds. These were the Midianites. Now, by the way, this is from Abraham's wife, Keturah. Alexander the Great and some of the European and the Middle East, or what we call Asia Minor countries, were established from these Midianites. Or it was when Israel had sown that the Midianites would come up with the Amalekites, and of course that's, all of these people are all cousins to the Jewish people, and the sons of the east, and go against them, so that they would camp against them and destroy the produce of the earth as far as Gaza. Now we're talking about Gaza today, remember? The Gaza Strip. That's what's going on over there in the land of Canaan right now, or what they call Palestine. And they leave no sustenance in Israel, as well as no sheep and oxen or donkey. For they would come up with their livestock and their tents, and they would come in like locusts for the number. Both they and their camels were innumerable, and they came into the land to devastate it. So Israel was brought very low because of Midian. And the sons of Israel cried unto the Lord. This is like we do when we get in trouble. Now it came about, when the sons of Israel cried to the Lord on account of Midian, that the Lord sent a prophet to the sons of Israel, and he said to them, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, it was I who brought you from the land of Egypt, and brought you out from the house of slavery. And yet you sold yourself into slavery again with these demons, and now with the people in the land, which I gave to you. And I delivered you from the hands of the Egyptians, from the lands of all your oppressors, and dispossessed them before you, and gave them their land to you. And I said to you, I am the Lord your God, Adonai Ha'avanim. And you shall not fear the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you live, but you have not obeyed and observed my laws. Then the angel of the Lord came in and sat under the oak that was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiasnite, and his son Gideon, who was beating out wheat in the winepress in order to save it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, The Lord is with you, O valiant warrior. And Gideon said to him, O my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us, and where are all his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, Do not. All his miracles, and the Lord bring us out of Egypt, but now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the land of Midian. They did it, that God did it to spank them up straight. And the Lord looked at him and said, Go in your strength, deliver Israel from the hand of Midianites. Have I not sent you? And he said, Lord, how shall I deliver Israel? Behold, my family is the least in Manasseh, and I am the youngest in my father's house. Remember, he chose David too, later on. But the Lord said to him, Surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat the Midians as one man. And Gideon said to him, I have found favor in your sight. Show me a sign. That is, that you speak to me. Please do not depart from here until I come back to you, and bring out my offering and lay it before you. And he said, I will remain until you return. Then Gideon went in and prepared a kid and unleavened bread for an ephah of flour, and he put the meal in a basket and the broth in a pot, and brought them to him under the oak, and presented them all time. Remember, Abraham fed the angels and the Lord, Adonai Ha'avanim, or El Shaddai. And the angel of the Lord said to him, Take the meat and the unleavened bread, and lay them on a rock, and pour out the broth, as he did. And the angel of the Lord put out the end of his staff that was in his hand, and he touched the meat and the unleavened bread, and fire sprang up from the rock, and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread. Then the angel of the Lord vanished before his sight. When Gideon saw that he was the angel of the Lord, he said, Alas, O Lord God, for now, O Lord, O Jehovah, the one who shall become. For now I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. And the Lord said to him, Peace be unto you, Shalom. Do not fear, you shall not die. And Gideon built an altar to the Lord, and named it the face of the Lord is peace, Jehovah Shalom. To this day it is all still in Ophrah and the Abiezrites. Now the same night it came to the Lord and said to him, Take up your father's bull, and a second bull 7 years old, and put down the altar of Baal, which belongs to your father, and cut down the Asherah that is beside it. They would have trees, groves, where they go and worship these gods. And he built an altar to the Lord your God on top of the stronghold of the orderly manner, and took a second bull and offered a burnt offering with the wood of the Asherah, and you shall cut down. Now these trees were standing green trees. Green trees don't start on fire very easy. Very hard to get green wood to burn. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord had spoken to him. And it came about, because he was too afraid of his father's household and the men of the city do it by day, he did it by night. Except you can see a fire a long way from at nighttime. And the men of the city arose early in the morning. Behold, the altar of Baal was torn down. And the Ashereth which were beside it were cut down. And the second bull was offered on the altar which had been built. And they said to one another, Who did this thing? And they searched about and inquired, and Gideon, the son of Joash, did nothing, did this thing. Then the men of the city said to Joash, Bring out your son, that he may die. We're going to kill him. For he has torn down the altar of Baal, and indeed he has cut down the Ashereth which was beside it. But Joash said to all who stood against him, Will you contend for Baal? Or will you deliver him? Whoever will plead for him shall be put to death by morning. If he is a god, let him contend for himself. Because someone has torn down this altar. And therefore on that day he named him Jerubbaal, that is to say, let Baal contend against him, because he has torn down his altar. Then all the Midianites and Amalekites and the sons of the east assembled themselves. Now remember all the things that I told you before in the foundation of this message. And they crossed over and camped in the valley of Jezreel. That's up in northern Israel now. So the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew a trumpet. And the Abiezrites were called together to follow him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, and they were called together to follow him, and sent messengers of Asher and Zebulun and Naphtali, and they came up to meet them. Then Gideon said to the Lord, If you'll deliver Israel through me, as you have spoken, behold, I will put a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. And if there is dew on the fleece only, and it is dry on the ground, then I will know that you will deliver Israel through me as you have spoken. He's very, very, very superstitious and unsure of himself. And it was so, and when he rose up early the next morning, and he squeezed the fleece, it drained the dew from the fleece, a bowl full of water. Then Gideon said to God, Do not let your anger burn against me, that I may speak once more. Please let me make a test once more. He's not finished testing God yet. With the fleece, let it now be dry only on the fleece, and let it be dew on the ground. And God did so that night, and it was dry only on the fleece, and dew was on the ground. Then Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all the people who were with him. Now Jerubbaal, remember what that means? Let Baal contend against him, and let him do a contest against him. Rose up early and camped beside the spring of Harod. And the camp of Midian was on the north side of them, by the hill of Moriah in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, The people are with you are too many for me to give Midian into their hands, lest Israel become boastful, saying, My own power has delivered me. Now God's going to test them. He tested God, now God's going to test him. Have you ever happened to this ever happened in your life? Has God ever tested you? Or have you tested God? And the Lord said to Gideon, The people are still too many. Now I said, There came to proclaim the hearing of the people. Whoever is afraid and trembling, let him return and depart from Mount Gilead. So 22,000 people returned, but 10,000 remained. So the Lord said to Gideon, The people are still too many. Bring them down to the river, and I will test them there for you. Therefore it shall be that he whom I say to you, this one shall go with you, and he shall go with you. But every one of whom I say to you, this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So he brought the people down to the water. And the Lord said to Gideon, or Jerubbaal, you shall separate everyone who laps the water with his tongue, as the dog laps, as well as everyone who kneels to drink. Now the number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men. But all the rest of the people kneeled to drink the water. And the Lord said to Gideon, I will deliver you with the 300 men who lap the water and give the Midianites into your hands. So let all the people go, each one to his own home. So all the 300 men took the people's provisions and their trumpets in their hands, and Gideon sent all the other men of Israel, each to his own tent. But he retained 300 men, and the camp of Midian was below him in the valley. Now that same night came about, the Lord said to him, arise and go down against the camp, for I have given it into your hands. But if you are afraid to go down, go with Purah, your servant, down to the camp. And you will hear what they say, and afterwards your hand will be strengthened, that you may go down against the camp. So he went down with Purah his servant, down to the outpost of the army that was in the camp. Now the Midianites and Amalekites and all the sons of the east were lying in the valley as numerous as locusts, and their camels were without number, as numerous as the sand of the seashore. And remember, he's only got 300 men against all these. Now Gideon came, and behold, a man was relating to a dream to his friend, and he said, behold, I had a dream. A loaf of barley bread was tumbling into the camp of Midian, and it came about that the tent struck it, so that it all fell and turned in upside down, so that the tent lay flat. And his friend answered and said, this is nothing less than the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, the man of Israel. God has given Midian and all the camp into his hands. So now God is putting fear into them. Remember one time he sent locusts, not locusts, but hornets among them. And it came about that Gideon heard the account of the dream, and his interpretation he bowed in worship. And he returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord has given the camp of Midian into your hands. 300 men against an innumerable group. And he divided the 300 men into 3 companies. And he put trumpets and empty pitchers into their hands, all of yet with torches inside the pitchers. That's a flame, you know, like a lamp. And he said to them, look at me and do likewise. And behold, when it came out to the outskirts of the camp, do as I do. And when I and all who are with you blow the trumpet, then you are to blow the trumpet all over Israel, and for the Lord and for Gideon. So Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the outskirts of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, when they had just posted the watch, and they blew the trumpets and smashed the pitchers that were in their hands. And when the 3 companies blew the trumpets and broke the pitchers, they held the torches in their left hands and the trumpets in their right hands for blowing, and cried, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. And each stood in his place. And the camp and all the army ran, crying as they fled. And when they blew 300 trumpets, the Lord set the sword of one against the other, even toward the whole army. And the army fled as far as Beth Shittah, toward Zererah, as far as the edge of Abel, Mehalah, and Tabach. And the men of Israel were summoned from Naphtali and Asher and Manasseh, and they pursued Midian. And Gideon sent messengers throughout all the hill country of Ephraim, saying, come down against the Midian, and take the waters before them as far as Beth-barah and the Jordan. So all the men of Ephraim were summoned, and they took the waters as far as Beth Moran, and the Jordan. And they captured the two leaders of Midian, Oreb and Zeb, and they killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and they killed Zeb at the winepress of Zeb. While they pursued Midian, and they brought the heads of Oreb and Zoreb to Gideon from across the Jordan. What a story. It's true. It really happened. It's not a tale. It's not a fable. We talked about the story of Gideon, and as he took on these people with the power of God, not their own power. All they did was to go down there and slaughter them and take what booty they had. God in this world gives us these little challenges sometimes. I'd like you to pray for Marilyn. She's going through a challenge right now. She fell down the other day and bruised her coccyx, or her tailbone, and she's having a terrible time, in pain, horrible time. And she can't be here with me, but she watches these messages as they go out on the internet. Please pray for her. And pray for me too as I care for her. We have challenges as we go through life each and every day. But God gives us all the strength to do whatever we need to do. And all of it. What are your challenges today? What are your challenges this last week? What will they be next week? Shall we be like Gideon and keep testing the Lord until He finally convinces us, or will we believe in Him and just wander on by sight and by faith? Our Father, we send this message out for your honor and glory. Please use it. Please help me as I care for Marilyn also. And please forgive me where I failed you. Use this message wherever it goes in the world, that it might strengthen and touch your people with love, your love, and with your confidence. In Jesus' name I pray.